G'day brothers and the occasional sister join us today. We're in the old recording studio, which will soon be a new recording studio. Today I want to talk about one thing that we all need to do to have a reasonable existence, a life that's not just mediocre but reasonable to really fantastic. So there's sort of a spectrum there. Reasonable would be a life that's okay without too much pain, too much suffering, where you get through and everything's okay. And that's probably the most we could probably ever ask for is that, because life generally has a lot of suffering and pain. But we also could have an incredibly exciting life with lots of colour and lots of wild things happening and lots of dreams coming true and lots of people, lots of love, as well as that pain and stuff. So to have all that other stuff, there's one thing that you got to have. And that one thing would be believing in yourself, self-belief. Now, I can throw that word around and it's easy to throw around, hey bro, you got to believe in yourself, but that ain't going to hit home. That's not going to make a damn difference. You need to know more about that process, and that's why I've got the guitar here. I want to play a wee song, and this song is very relevant to why, or how at least, the path is that I found to believing in myself. See, rider, see what you have done, oh Lord. See, rider, see what you have done. You made me love you, now your man done come. C. Rider, an old blues song actually written by a woman, and back in the day those riders, they were either guys that were in the military, army men, or they were the riders that went around from church to church and town to town preaching. But anyway, she met this guy and she fell in love with him, and then she fell in love with him, and then his woman came. But we've changed the words for a man singing. Otherwise, if I was singing it, I'd be saying, well, it could actually still apply either way. The point being is, the song itself was a blues song that I was playing in a band when I was a very young man, living in a flat, trying to pay the rent, trying to get by, trying to find my way through the world, trying to follow a dream that everybody told me was impossible, which was to become a musician and make a living out of it. And it just got harder and harder, and I was in this band, this blues band. The lead singer was called Fred. Good guys. And I would get the little bit of money I had to pay for the taxi to go from where I lived, which was in Keys Road in Christchurch, to the other side of town to where the band practice was every Tuesday. And I turned up to that band practice on a Tuesday after being in this band for probably, I think it was well over 6 months easily. We're just starting to get some repertoire stuff, and I was the guitarist in the band. And Fred said to me when I opened the door, he says, "Oh, you're here." And I said, "Well, Tuesday is always band practice day." And he said, "Oh, did the other members not actually talk to you?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Oh, well, I've got some news for you. Hold that thought for a minute. I'm going to get out of this room because it's actually quite cold and I want to get in the sun where the birds are singing. I'll take you outside." Oh, this is much nicer. This is much nicer. Yes, the sun. Got to have the sun, boys and girls. Well, we'll park up here and carry on the story. So Fred says, "Yeah, you haven't heard the news." And I said, "Well, what's the news exactly?" He goes, "Well, you're out of the band." I said, "On what?" He says, "No, well, boys all got together and yeah, your timing's not good, your rhythm's not good, you just don't cut it as a guitarist. We don't think you've got what it takes, and you're never really going to make a musician, and we don't want that sort of guitarist in our band." I was like, I don't understand. You told me I was okay, and I made the audition, and he said, no, we've all changed our mind. You don't play power chords, you just play normal chords. I was absolutely gutted. I said, all right. Picked up my guitar and went to a telephone box because we didn't have mobile phones in those days. I was only 20, probably 20, 21. put some change in there and called a taxi and went back to my flat, put the guitar under the bed, and it stayed under there for 3 months. I never took it out. I went into a deep despair. I won't say depression, I'll say despair. I was like, I'm not good enough. I couldn't process that. All my dreams and aspirations was always to be a musician, and I could now see I had someone validating that I wasn't good enough. I was never going to do this, and I didn't know where to go, and all my passion, which I love, was writing songs and making music, suddenly was cut down. And I went in a dark place. I was in a very dark place. I didn't want to talk to anybody, and nothing would make me happy in the world. I walk around the park and didn't want to pick up my guitar, which I love playing, and knew that if I picked it up, no one's going to want to listen to me because I'm shit anyway. And I just lost all belief in myself. I lost all belief. Now, one thing I'd always been good at doing was playing the harmonica, and I could sing reasonably. And there was a guy called Ken Ackroyd that used to live down Lever Terrace. Kenny was a great musician, and he was a neighbour of mine later on. He came to be, but he lived in Lever Terrace and I was down Keys Road, and I eventually moved up into Lever Terrace and out of that flat and got to meet Kenny, and he played the most incredible guitar, and I realised, I was never going to be in his league. And one day we were playing, I was playing my harmonica and he was playing, and he said, we should make a duo, we sound pretty good together. And he started to believe me, which made me believe in me. And I said, do you think I'm good enough? And he goes, absolutely, you can play that harmonica, you can sing, man. So suddenly I had someone now believing me again. And I went home and back to my flat, but I didn't believe me still. I was saying, yeah, he does, but I know I'm not good enough, my timing's not good. And Fred's words were sinking into me, and I was in despair again, still thinking, no, I'm not going to do this. And I was walking along the beach, and this guy called Colin came up to me, Colin Doherty. And I was full of despair. I was walking on the beach, and he came up to me and he says, hey, I'm your neighbour. He was also a neighbour. He lived down Tonk Street in Christchurch. And he goes, what's up? And I just told him the truth. I just said, I'm having a really bad day. And he said, you've got to learn to believe in yourself regardless of what people think. And I said, well, how can I? Well, I'm getting no validation. Well, I'm getting this, being told that I'm not good enough. And he said, it's not about that. He said, you have to believe in yourself. If you like what you do, and if you can see a way through for yourself, whatever it is, whether it's music or sport or anything, you've actually got to believe in yourself. That's the first critical step. I didn't have a father, and Colin kind of was like a father talking to me. He was an older man. Still good friends today, Colin. Very good friends, love him dearly. And I went back home, and my guitar was underneath the bed. I pulled it out. I started playing it for the first time in a long time. And man, it felt good. And I thought, fuck Fred, and fuck anybody that thinks I'm not good enough. I am going to start believing in myself. And I started playing with a metronome, teaching myself better timing. And I went back to Kenny and I said, yeah, I'll join up with you. So Kenny and I formed a duo called Bad Whiskey. And we played all the old blues songs, Huddy Ledbetter, Brownie McGee, Sonny Terry, all of that old blues stuff. Howlin' Wolf, see my little red rooster, why don't you drive 'em on home? That was actually later on covered by the Rolling Stones. So we did a lot of those old blues songs that other bands made famous, but we did our own twist. And Kenny played a 12-string guitar, and I played the harmonica, and I sang, and he played guitar. And man, do we have some fun. Now here's the kicker. John Hammond Jr., his father was the man that did a lot of work with Bob Dylan. I think he actually managed him. I'm not sure. Do your research, you might find it if you Google it. I'm pretty sure his father either managed him or definitely did a lot of work with him. But John Hammond Jr. is a great blues solo guitarist from the States. Lovely, lovely guy. Really, really talented. Played harmonica and guitar. He was coming to Christchurch, and the Southern Blues Club in Christchurch, everybody was going to go to it. And the person that ran the show wanted to have an opening act for John Hammond Jr. at the Town Hall in Christchurch, and we're talking an audience of 3,000 or 4,000 people, a big audience by standards for this little boy. And I couldn't believe it when they asked me and Kenny to do it. So we ended up fronting that show, doing the doing the curtain raiser for him. I remember walking out on the stage with a bottle of Jack Daniel's whiskey, sorry, a bottle of Johnny Walker Black Label whiskey, and holding up to the audience. And as I walked with this bottle, walking up to the audience, full of self-belief again, having re-kickstarted myself, down in the very front row was Fred, the same guy that had kicked me out of that band. And I looked down at him, and he looked up at me almost in shock, like, what are you doing on that stage? And like, why am I there? And I just remember holding that bottle for a minute and looking at him and thinking, thank you, Fred, thank you for that. That was actually a valuable lesson in me learning to not give a fuck what you think, me believing in me. And here I was, we had a fantastic concert. We got too drunk, of course, because that's what we did back then. Got 2 reviews, one of them was a really good one and one was a really bad one. Didn't matter though, because I had a moment with Kenny. Kenny later on went to play with Ian Waters, a friend of mine, a surfer, great singer, and they formed Smoking Jacket with a really good drum and a really good bass player. And that was another, those guys went off, and I went to Europe to play music. And I went to Kenny's funeral not so long ago. I drove from here all the way back down to Christchurch to pay my respects, because he passed away in a terrible way actually too. But Kenny and I could tell you a lot of stories about me and Kenny. Anyway, the point being is this, guys. You're always going to have the Freds of the world, they're going to bash you. Whether you're a YouTuber making this, you're open to being people telling you, hey man, you're waffling too much, or you're boring, and you're always going to have people that are going to undermine what you're doing. Whether you're a musician, you're a sports person, a teacher, a rugby player, you can't always keep everybody happy. And that's not what it's about. It's about making sure that you keep yourself happy. It's just not sustainable to do anything where you don't believe what you're doing is good. If you don't have that belief it's going to work, it won't work. For a long time I've made videos about things that I've just done. Not actually to make a video, but I've just videoed what I've done. A lot of YouTubers will do stuff to make a video. They'll go out and they'll go hunting, or they'll go fishing, or they'll do a garden, or they'll do something just so they can film it to create content to give to people. And I've always done it the other way around. I filmed my life, and for a long time my life was very exciting because I was pig hunting just constantly because I was so obsessed with it. And then when I stopped doing the pig hunting, the channel that I had, it lost a lot of hunters and people became disillusioned. I only stopped, so I still do hunt, but I slowed it down a lot because I had health issues. And a lot of people became disinterested and they wanted to get me back into it. But I had to have time to repair, and I had time to get well before I could go again. And I lost a lot of my patrons on my Patreon. And that will happen to you. You will lose people along the journey that are only there for the things you're doing that they like, that mirror what they love in their life, what are their interests. And they're not there just for you, they're there for what you're doing or for the interest. And that's fine, but you have to understand that whatever you do in life, whatever direction you change, you're going to lose people on the way, but you gain people as well. And when you do change the direction, you do something different, you've got to believe in that too. One of my biggest passions has always been primitive survival, surviving with just what you've got. I've been doing it since I was a kid. I grew up in the Abel Tasman National Park when my father was a ranger. No children around, just my brother, my sister, my mum and my dad. And occasionally we'd go over the hill and I'd play with the Robertson kids in Wainui, but for a year I'd be alone. And we didn't have a shop and there was nothing there, so I would have to make everything myself. So as a very young boy I learnt to take a piece of flax and make it into anything I wanted. Either a raft, a Kentucky raft, a plane to play with. Anything. I make bows and arrows, and I make traps for catching animals, and I make huts all the time, and we would end up good at making stuff. My brother wasn't quite the same as me. Him and I are quite different. We're like chalk and cheese. I'd take him fishing and he'd be upset that I'd hurt the fish. He still loved the fishing, but he would hate to see the fish killed and I'd have to kill his fish for him. And he wasn't quite as creative in this sense of making stuff, but he had his own passion, which later on became music in his life too. And point being is, for me, growing through these years and going through, a lot of the times I I've believed in myself and nobody else would believe in me. And the latest thing, which I've been doing the last couple of years, is, it's not sustainable for me to do it regularly on the channel. It would make the channel explode huge. I could be massive, but it's to do these primitive videos, because it's something that I can do, it's something I love, and it's something I enjoy, and it's something that just goes massive. And the reason it goes massive is, first and foremost, is because I'm doing a lot of things that haven't been done before, that particular way. It's original, I'm not copying anybody, I'm just being myself. I'm bringing stuff from my childhood into my adult years. I'm building huts the way that I build stuff. There's plenty of other videos of people doing similar shit, and quite a few of them go really well too, but mine go pretty big. I think the last couple have had over 2.2 million views, which is a lot of views on a platform that's very highly competitive to get views. I'm probably one of the oldest YouTubers around. Again, it comes back to believing in what you're doing. And when I did my first primitive video, I knew before I'd done it, it was going to be successful, even though it was outside the paradigm of my usual stuff of hunting and fishing. And one of my subscribers wrote, "Stop faffing around with making rafts and stuff." And I got that negative comment, and get back to what you do best. And I thought, well, actually, how do you know this is not what I do best? And I wonder what that person thinks today. I get a lot of comments that are against me. I had one the other day that says, "You're too old for doing this." Fuck you. Fuck you. That's ageism. Nah. You're always going to have someone that's going to try to knock you down, brothers. So the message today is, believe in number one. Believe in yourself. And when other people don't believe in you, you keep on believing in yourself. Oh, by all means, take advice. But I went on to Europe to play 3,159 concerts in front of thousands of people. I made a lot of money. I met a lot of people. I spent a lot of money too, because I had a gambling problem and an addiction problem. But that was my journey then. And if I had just taken on what Fred has said and disbelieved myself and just gone back to doing my job, working as a salesman, and never followed that dream, if I had not kept on believing myself, I never would have got to Europe, and I'd never have this bit of dirt I've got right now. A lot of things wouldn't happen. I wouldn't have the children I've got. So you really have to just take what people say, never take it personally. That's not going to help them, it's not going to help you. Anything somebody says is only a reflection of themselves. Sure, my timing wasn't great in that band. Sure, I wasn't a great guitarist. But if you really believe in yourself, you can build on those things. I fixed the timing up by using a metronome, and I learned about timing. And I started to always play with a metronome, and I trained myself, because I don't have naturally really, really good timing. And the rest came. Westpac helicopter flying over again. No, that sounds bigger. That sounds like an Iroquois. What is that? Somebody's day's been cocked up because of a Westpac helicopter. I don't know, there's a lot of rich people that live around here now. They've got their own private helicopters. I wonder what that is, can't see it. Hopefully it's not the Westpac helicopter. Hopefully somebody's day's hasn't been fucked up. It's sort of close by, but I can't see it. It must be low. Where is that? Oh, no, it's not. It's a private Jet Ranger. It's the white one, white and blue over there. Don't know if you can see that or not. Brothers, believe in yourself. And if you are like me, you're young, like I was at least, a young man that's wanting to do something and people are telling you that you can't, don't worry about that shit. You can. It's completely doable. And you will, but not if you take on that, whatever thing happens, however it happens to you, and you'll be sweet as, bro. Check on a brother, check on yourself, and check on yourself that you truly believe in yourself, whatever it is you want to do, and good things will happen. Have a great day. Go steady. See you later.